The colony of Ilera was once a peaceful world. It was a small planet with soft blue skies, wide green fields, and gentle rivers that glowed faintly at night. Families lived close together, sharing food, stories, and hopes for the future. But all of that was before the star began to die. Now the sky was dark and filled with heavy orange clouds. The planet shook every few hours. The air smelled like burned metal. The once bright rivers had dried up to thin, dusty lines. Every day, the people of Ilera woke to a world that was slowly falling apart around them. Commander Lethar, the colony leader, stood outside the old communication tower. He looked up at the flickering light in the sky. The dying star pulsed like a giant, angry heart. Each pulse sent a wave of heat across the planet, and each wave killed more crops and weakened more people. Lethar had seen many terrible things in his life, but nothing frightened him as much as this. His people were running out of food. Their water systems had collapsed. Their medical supplies were almost gone. He knew the colony could not survive much longer. Every single day for the last 3 years, Lethar sent out distress signals. He used every channel the colony had. He contacted nearby species, trading partners, old allies, anyone who might listen. This is Ilera colony. We need help. We cannot hold much longer. Please, anyone, respond. The message played again and again into the silent void. But no one answered. Some species did hear the signal but chose to ignore it. Others blocked it completely, believing Ilera was a lost cause. Some said saving them would be too expensive. A few simply did not care. The colony felt abandoned. Alone. Forgotten by the galaxy. Underground shelters were full of sick and starving families. Children coughed from the dust in the air. Farmers sat beside their dead crops, staring at the dark, empty sky. Engineers tried to repair old machines, but they no longer had the tools or energy for big repairs. Still, every morning, Commander Lethar forced himself to stand straight and encourage his people. "We will survive another day," he said. "We must." But inside, even he was losing hope. One night, the strongest heatwave yet hit the surface. Flames rose from the ground. 3 shelters collapsed. People screamed as the world shook again and again. Lethar and his rescue teams worked for hours, pulling survivors from broken metal and burning rock. By dawn, the colony was quieter than ever. Too quiet. Lethar walked through the market square, now nothing but ash and ruins. He saw an old mother holding her son's hand. Her eyes were empty. He saw workers sitting beside broken machines, staring at them as if hoping they would somehow repair themselves. Everyone was tired. Everyone was broken. And still, no response from the galaxy. Later that day, Lethar stood in the control room with his remaining officers. Dust floated in the dim lights. The communication towers were failing. The power grid flickered every few seconds. If the towers went down, the colony would not even be able to send a final message. Lethar breathed slowly. He pressed the transmission button again. "This is Ilera colony. Our star is collapsing. We are out of supplies. We need help. Please, is anyone listening?" Static. Silence. Lethar closed his eyes. He thought of the children. He thought of the farmers. He thought of the families who still believed someone was coming. But the truth he carried in his heart was colder. No one was coming. He walked outside the tower and looked at the sky one more time. The star pulsed again, brighter than before. It was close to its final stage. Scientists had warned that once the star reached this point, it would explode within weeks. Ilera did not have weeks. The people gathered in the central square. They looked up at Lethar with tired eyes. They waited for him to tell them there was still hope. But before he could speak, the ground shook again. Lights flickered. The air filled with a low rumbling sound, not from the star, but from the sky itself. Everyone looked up. Through the clouds of ash and heat, a massive shadow appeared. It moved with power, breaking through the radiation like it was nothing. A ship. But not any ship. A Deathworlder human cruiser. The crowd gasped. Some stepped back in fear. Others whispered in disbelief. Commander Lethar's heart stopped. For the first time in years, someone had finally answered the call. The people of Ilera stared at the sky as the massive shadow pushed through the burning clouds. It moved slowly, powerfully, like a creature that feared nothing in the entire galaxy. The dying star's radiation hit its metal hull and scattered like harmless sparks. Commander Lethar did not blink. For a moment, he wondered if the heat had finally made him lose his mind. But no, this was real. The ship descended lower, engines roaring through the thick ash. Dust and broken metal flew across the ground. The cruiser was huge, larger than any ship the colony had ever seen. Its armor looked like it had survived 100 battles. Its lights were cold blue, cutting through the smoke like sharp blades. A whisper spread through the crowd. Humans. Some aliens took a step back. They had heard stories about Deathworlders, the humans who grew on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The species who fought storms, earthquakes, and wild beasts as children. The race known for impossible strength, strange courage, and unpredictable behavior. To most of the galaxy, humans were trouble. To Ilera, right now, they were something else. Hope. The ship's landing claws struck the ground. A burst of steam shot from the vents. A heavy ramp unfolded, shaking the earth as it hit the dirt. The crowd fell silent. Commander Lethar waited at the front. If humans had come to claim the colony, or take resources, or bring war, he had no way to stop them. But instead of soldiers with weapons drawn, the first figure who stepped down the ramp carried something unexpected. A medical kit. The human captain appeared next. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in protective armor designed for deadly environments. His helmet slid open, revealing tired eyes but a calm expression. He walked straight to Lethar and spoke in a steady, warm voice. "I'm Captain Rowan of the Deathworlder rescue ship Titan Ember. We received your distress signal. We came as fast as we could." The silence that followed felt like the longest moment in the colony's history. Lethar swallowed hard. "You came to help us?" Rowan nodded. "We don't leave people to die." The words hit the crowd like a wave. A few colonists cried. Some fell to their knees. No species had said those words to them in years. Behind Rowan, dozens of humans rushed out carrying water tanks, medical crates, portable shields, and repair tools. They were moving already, fast, efficient, focused. No hesitation. A mother stepped forward, holding her weak daughter. "Please," she whispered. "She can't breathe." A human medic knelt immediately, scanning the child with a handheld device. Respiratory collapse. Radiation damage. "I need oxygen and stabilizer, now." Another human sprinted back into the ship to bring supplies. Everything happened so quickly that the Ilerans did not know whether to watch or help. But the humans did not wait, they worked with the certainty of people who faced disasters every day on their own brutal homeworld. Within minutes, the dying child was breathing normally again. The mother collapsed into tears, holding the human medic's hand. "You saved her," she whispered. The medic only smiled gently. "That's why we're here." Commander Lethar felt a heavy weight lift from his chest. For the first time in years, he felt something he barely recognized. Relief. But Captain Rowan was not finished. He pointed at the unstable sky. "Your star will collapse soon. Maybe days. Maybe hours. We need to evacuate your people before that happens." Lethar felt fear return. "We don't have enough ships. Our engines are dead. Rowan tapped the communicator on his wrist. Then we will fix them. Voices crackled through his speaker. Human engineers responded instantly. Copy that, Captain. Drone teams launching. Shield boosters ready. We'll stabilize everything we can. Lethar blinked. You would risk your lives for us, even now. The human captain gave a tired but determined smile. Risking our lives is normal. Saving yours is the mission. The colony watched as more humans spread out across the land, setting up emergency camps and scanning damaged buildings. They handed out water, medicine, and food. They checked on the sick. They repaired generators with tools the aliens had never seen before. Nobody in Ilera had ever seen a species work so hard for strangers. As night fell, the dying star glowed brighter, sending another wave of heat across the land, but this time, the humans activated temporary shields, blocking the deadly radiation. Children stared at the bright blue barriers in awe. Parents stared at the humans in something deeper. The next morning, Ilera did not wake to silence. It woke to sound, the sound of engines, tools, scanners, and human voices shouting instructions across the ruined colony. The Deathworlders were everywhere. Drones launched into the sky, mapping broken areas. Engineers climbed damaged towers with magnetic boots. Medics moved between shelters, checking on the sick and handing out warm blankets. Soldiers formed safety lines around unstable buildings. Commander Lethar watched all of it from the old command platform. For the first time, the colony felt alive again. But the sky above them told a different story. The dying star pulsed faster now, like a giant heartbeat rushing toward its last breath. Each pulse shook the ground and colored the sky a deeper shade of orange. Scientists warned that the end was coming sooner than expected. A single mistake could cost thousands of lives. Captain Rowan joined Lethar on the platform. His armor was dusty, and his eyes had not seen sleep, but his voice stayed strong. Your evacuation ships, Rowan said, pointing at the broken vessels on the landing fields, we can fix them. But we don't have long. Lethar looked at the crater-filled ground. Our engines are outdated. We lost half our power systems last week. It might be impossible. Rowan smiled in a way only a human could, confident, reckless, fearless. Impossible is our specialty. Before Lethar could respond, the ground trembled violently. A deep rumble spread across the colony. Buildings cracked. Dust fell from the cliffs. People screamed. Lethar grabbed the rail. The core field is collapsing. Rowan tapped his comm instantly. Engineering teams, report. A voice answered with static. Captain, the radiation spike just fried half the power lines. We're trying to reroute. Rowan cursed under his breath. Lethar, we have to move everyone now. The commander nodded and sent out colony-wide alerts. Sirens wailed through every district. Families ran into the streets. Human soldiers guided them toward the evacuation zone. But then, another problem. A loud boom echoed from the north. Smoke rose into the air. One of the underground shelters had collapsed. Hundreds were trapped inside. Rowan's voice sharpened like a blade. I need rescue teams with cutting gear and medics. Move. Humans sprinted toward the collapse, lifting debris with their bare hands, using portable shields to block falling stone. Their movements had no hesitation, no fear, only determination. Commander Lethar followed them. Every second mattered. When he reached the shelter ruins, he saw humans already drilling through thick concrete, sparks flying everywhere. A little alien girl cried under the rubble. A human soldier slid beside her, covering her with his body to protect her from dust and falling metal. Stay with me, he whispered gently. We're getting you out. The girl nodded weakly. Lethar felt his chest tighten. He had never seen a stronger mix of strength and kindness. Minutes later, with one final pull, humans tore a chunk of metal free and opened a gap. Light poured into the damaged shelter. Dozens of aliens crawled out, coughing but alive. The crowd cheered, some through tears. But Rowan's face remained serious. His wrist unit beeped with urgent warnings. "Commander, this is bad," he said. "The star is entering its last phase. We may not have days left. We may not even have hours." Lethar felt cold panic. "Can we still evacuate everyone?" Rowan looked toward the sky, watching the unstable star twist like a fiery storm. "We will," he said firmly. "Even if it takes every human here." They rushed back to the landing fields. Human engineers were repairing engines with incredible speed, replacing cables, jump-starting power cores, and attaching new shield generators taken from their own ship. Sweat poured down their faces. Their hands shook from exhaustion. But none stopped. One alien engineer whispered in disbelief, "Do humans always work like this?" Another human overheard him and smiled, despite his shaking arms. "On our planet," he said, tightening a bolt, "we do this before breakfast." Night fell again, but no one slept, not humans, not Ilarans. Floodlights lit up the fields. Sparks showered the ground. Engines roared back to life one by one. Every ship repaired meant hundreds of lives saved. Yet something else worried Rowan. A massive solar flare was forming on the star's surface, a flare big enough to wipe out the planet. It could strike any time. Rowan called his crew to him. "We don't have long. Finish the last ships. We launch the moment the flare hits." His soldiers nodded. Not one questioned the danger. Lethar watched them and finally understood why the galaxy feared humans. Not because humans were violent, but because nothing could stop them when they decided to save someone. The ground shook again as the final warning came from the dying star. A huge wave of orange light burst across the sky, brighter than anything the colony had ever seen. It was the start of the final solar flare, the one that would end Ilara forever. Captain Rowan stood in the center of the landing field with his crew. His visor reflected the blazing sky, but his voice stayed calm. "Everyone load up. Final evacuation begins now." Ilarans hurried onto the repaired ships. Humans guided them, carried children on their backs, held elderly by the arms, and lifted crates of supplies like they weighed nothing. Commander Lethar moved beside Rowan. His voice trembled. "Your people, they have saved us all." Rowan shook his head. "Not yet. We still have to get you off this world before it explodes." Behind them, engines roared. Ships vibrated as power surged through their cores. The ground cracked from the heat. Air burned like fire. The colony was dying. Humans knew it. Aliens felt it. But no one ran. They fought to save every last life. The solar flare strikes. Without warning, the star erupted. A massive wave of energy shot across the sky, covering everything in blinding light. It moved like a wall of fire, racing toward the planet. Human soldiers activated portable shield generators. A bright blue barrier rose around the landing field, but the flare was too strong. Cracks spread across the shields. "Captain, shield stability at 30%. Rowan clenched his jaw. "Hold it. Just hold a little longer." Children cried. Adults held each other tightly. The heat grew unbearable. Then the shields shattered. The first blast of radiation hit the ground. But it was not the Ilarans who fell. It was the humans. Human soldiers threw themselves over alien families. They formed a wall with their armor. They shielded the weak with their own bodies. Their armored suits turned red-hot from the radiation, but they did not move. This was the moment the colony understood the truth. Deathworlders did not fear dying. They feared failing to save others. The final rescue. The last shelter collapse had left 93 colonists trapped near the canyon. The flare damaged the rescue path. Most alien officers said it was impossible to reach them in time. Rowan did not hesitate. Squad 9. With me. Lethar grabbed his arm. Captain, the path is collapsing. You will not make it. Rowan smiled faintly. Watch us. The humans ran into the burning canyon without shields. Dust storms ripped at their armor. Rocks fell around them. The heat warped metal. Still, they pushed forward. They used their bare hands, cutting tools, and sheer strength to break through the rubble. Each minute felt like hours. Sweat dripped inside their helmets. Their lungs burned. But finally, they heard voices. The trapped colonists. Rowan shouted, Titan Ember Rescue Team. We are getting you home. Hope returned to frightened eyes. Human soldiers carried the injured on their backs, lifted collapsed beams, and protected the group as the canyon shook. Rowan led from the front, refusing to slow down even as the temperature reached deadly levels. By the time they reached the landing field, the last evacuation ship was already powering up. Rowan's voice cracked through his calm. Open the bay doors. We're bringing them in. Human crews rushed out, grabbing the exhausted rescuers and helping them into the ship as the stars screamed behind them. The doors shut with a metallic echo. The countdown began. Engines stable. All passengers secured. Shields at 60%. Rowan collapsed onto the floor, panting. Lethar kneeled beside him. You saved them all, the commander whispered. Rowan shook his head weakly. We saved them together. The world explodes. The evacuation fleet launched upward. The ships fought through violent winds and shaking air. The dying star burst behind them, exploding in a massive firestorm. The shockwave hit the fleet, hard. But the Deathworlder-built shields held. Illyra vanished in a blinding flash of red and gold. Silence followed. Then cheers. Sobs. Laughter. People hugging humans who saved their lives. Commander Lethar looked at Rowan with tears in his eyes. You were strangers, he said softly. But you saved us when the galaxy turned away. Rowan wiped dust from his face. We don't ignore people in need. The entire colony bowed their heads to the humans. For the first time in galactic history, a destroyed world survived because of a species everyone once feared. And the galaxy would never forget it.